Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at what Games Workshop needs to do to make Kill Team top-notch. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Alright, so Games Workshop has been really hyping up the new edition of Kill Team, and in my opinion, this is long awaited. There's been a lot of glaring issues with the current edition of Kill Team, and while it started off pretty good and was an improvement over the previous edition, I like a lot of the rules changes, but as everything progressed through the edition, as Games Workshop had some glaring issues, it turned off a lot of people towards the game, and a lot of the initial hype and growth that started off with Kill Team in the new edition was lost over time. And now here we are about 3 years later, and I want to focus in on 3 primary issues that I have noticed with the game overall that have been a net negative effect on Kill Team. And if these 3 issues are addressed and corrected, we could see massive improvements. And while Games Workshop has been releasing a lot of the rules stuff, and they've actually addressed some of the issues that we're going to be discussing in this video, I'm just not sure that they understand the actual problems with Kill Team or if they're going to be able to fix them. So that being said, let's jump right in. Over the last couple of days, Games Workshop has released some basic kind of rules for some of the various factions in Kill Team. They started off with the Imperial Kill Teams, they went into the Eldari, and now they're taking a look at the Chaos Kill Teams. They've also released a couple of articles discussing some of the issues that they felt were in Kill Team and how they're going to correct them and what we can expect. And overall, it seems like some positive stuff. But let's talk about the 3 main issues that I have noticed with Kill Team that I have heard from thousands of people in the community, and that my opinion should be the focus of this new edition and Games Workshop. So the first issue is time, the second issue is availability, and the third issue is bloat. So let's talk about time first. One of the biggest appeals of a skirmish game like Kill Team is the amount of time that it takes to play. A lot of people don't have multiple hours that they can dedicate to setting up, meeting up, playing a game. Not to mention all of the work that goes into actually preparing your army, or Kill Team in this case, learning the actual game, all the individual rules to your faction, and that's why people tend to be drawn to skirmish games in particular, especially things like Kill Team or Warcry. So I think if we break down time to what's actually important, you need to have a relatively short amount of time that it takes to set up your game. And for the most part, I think Games Workshop has done a good job with this. The various different Kill Team boards that you play on are about 22 by 30 inches roughly. It takes only about 15 minutes or so to set up the actual game, get your terrain placed, your missions ready to go, and get set up. Next, we have the actual play time. A typical game of Warhammer 40k takes about 3 hours to play. And if you're going to really differentiate a game or a product, you need to make sure that there's a substantial difference between them, which means that it's unacceptable for a game like Kill Team to take 2 hours or more to play. It needs to be focused much more on the 1 hour to 1.5 hour mark. That way there's a clear differentiation between playing a game of big Warhammer or playing a skirmish game. And one of the metrics that we can use to judge this is, for instance, in an actual tournament, if you were going to go play Warhammer 40k, you have allotted 3 hours of game time to play your game. And in a typical tournament for Kill Team, you're typically allotted about a 2 hour and 30 to 2 hour and 45 minute slot, which means that essentially, give or take 15 to 30 minutes, there's no real difference in the amount of time that it takes to play the game. And I think this is a glaring issue because realistically, a tournament player is going to be much more familiar with the rules of their actual faction, the rules of the game, and should be playing much faster than just your average Joe. So I think one of the key focuses Games Workshop should be looking into, leaning into, and making evident in this edition is that it's only going to take you about an hour to hour and a half to play. And I'm just not sure from what we've seen so far that this is the case. Next, we have the ease of the rules. The rules should be easy, the game should flow, and you should spend the majority of the time actually playing the game, not digging through rule books trying to figure out if you're playing it correctly. Most people want to play the game correctly, want to use the rules correctly, and want everything to be comprehensive. But I think it's much more important that you're actually playing the game and that it flows and that it's fun, rather than playing everything exactly right or perfect. Because the fact of the matter is, it should feel like you're playing a game and having fun, not doing a research project, digging through books, erratas, and various rules updates. So if we just take a glance at what Games Workshop has shown us so far, here we have the Chaos Kill Teams. We can look down here and see the Blooded, and we can see that essentially we have a faction rule for each of the factions. Here's the Blooded, and it's basically 3 paragraphs, a couple of bullet points, and overall this is going to encompass the look and feel and special abilities of the Kill Teams, and I think this is pretty good. Next, we have the Felgor Ravagers, and once again, we have the Frenzy rule. It's a little bit longer right here, but still just a few paragraphs. It fits on a single page, and it's overall relatively easy to understand and put into effect in the game. And then we also have our Chaos Cult, and then once again, we see the Mutation rule. Again, it's a little bit longer here, about a page, but overall relatively easy to understand, relatively easy to put into effect, and really encompasses the overall flavor and game style of the team. And one thing, in my opinion, Games Workshop has done a really good job with is actual cards for the games. We've seen them now for 40k and Sigmar. They put all the rules on a single card, typically on one side. Everything is clearly spelled out, your APL, your move, your save, your wounds, your actual weapons, and then special abilities. So when you go to activate a fighter, in this case, you pull out the specific card you need, and everything's right there on a single card. Relatively easy to use, relatively easy to find and understand. And Games Workshop has basically laid out that they're going to be releasing data cards for each of the various factions or teams that you can use in Kill Team. So rather than having to buy a big box set with multiple teams in it in order to get the cards and the tokens, you should be able to pick these up individually or get access to them online for free. I think if Games Workshop focuses in on the actual time and ease of use, and as long as these things are readily available, then we're going to see massive improvements in the Kill Team experience.
Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now back to the video.
So next we're going to jump over here to the shop real quick and check out the availability. I think it's very important that Games Workshop not only sell products that they want people to use, but also that those products are actually available when people want to go buy them. So currently there are 15 items available for Kill Team. One of them is the rulebook, which is no longer for sale. So realistically, it's like 14 items. One is a Kill Team terrain pack. We have 10 Kill Teams currently available, and then also the Dark Tide game. So we know from Games Workshop that there's going to be a total of 33 total teams right out of the gate. The rules are going to be provided for free on Warhammer Community. And in theory, by the time the new product launches, the new edition of Kill Team, if Games Workshop does a good job rolling this out and lives up to their promises that you'll be able to play all 33 of these teams right out of the gate, all of these products should be available in the Games Workshop store. There should be plenty of stock in the store, and people should be able to get a hold of them and play their games with relatively little to no hangups. But not only does Games Workshop need to have the physical models available for purchase, but you also need to be able to get a hold of the rules. And Games Workshop has addressed this and said that the rules are going to be completely free, not only the core rules for the game, but also all of the rules for the individual factions. And then if you decide you want to buy the cards, if you decide you want these handy game aids, you should be able to purchase them as well. Unfortunately, in the past, we've seen quite a bit with Games Workshop that oftentimes they will release this type of product, but they will make them in a very limited run. And once they sell out, they won't reprint them. So in my opinion, these faction packs, these Kill Team specific data cards should be in the store all the time, available for purchase. So not only does Games Workshop need to produce enough of these products initially on launch, but they need to make sure that they actually keep the Kill Teams and the Kill Teams rules pack for the individual teams in stock. And then the last thing we need to talk about is bloat. A lot of the issue with Kill Team was when it started off with the previous edition, everything was fairly simple. There was only a couple of books to access. All the rules were contained within those books, but slowly over time with their various updates, with their various FAQs and changes, the amount of information that you needed to have access to, that you needed to research up on and make sure that you were doing the right thing just got out of control. So here we can see basically like the key downloads, rules, facts, and errata for the existing edition of Kill Team. And here we see the balanced data slate. Then we see some individual team updates. We see critical ops and close quarters. We see the light rules, the approved ops rules. And if we scroll down here, there's facts and errata for each of the various teams. And obviously this is a ton of information for people to keep up on and stay up to date on. They were updating these rules relatively often, about once a quarter, every 3 months. And the majority of people are only playing like maybe 1 game a week. So by the time you play like 4 games, a month has gone by. By the time you play like 8 to 12 games, there's going to be massive changes to the actual game itself. If we go to the balanced data slate, which Games Workshop has said it's going to be releasing quarterly, you go to it and it's about 12 pages of downloads right here with tons of changes to various different things. It was very difficult to figure out exactly what has changed. So if you haven't been keeping up on the rules, you're not sure even what has changed from the previous rules. And a lot of times you're playing off of what you remember or what you played previously. So it can be just a lot for people to keep up with. While it's very important to keep the game balanced and have quarterly updates to make sure that everybody's having a good time, I think that the key for them should be focusing in on ease of understanding the rules, the actual gameplay and how much you enjoy it, rather than the overall perfect balance of the game. There's always going to be some teams or some factions that are a little bit stronger. There's always going to be a meta, things that work good at the time. And then it's up to the actual community, the players, the people that are enjoying the game to figure out how to beat a certain type of army, what plays well into other teams. And the fact of the matter is, the game is never going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfectly balanced. Every team is never going to be equal. There's always going to be people out there trying to exploit which team is the best and use them to their advantage. And it's up to the meta and the other players out there to figure out what works best into that team and how to beat them. So I think if Games Workshop focuses in on the actual time of the game, the availability of the products and people being able to get a hold of them, and then also keeping the rules bloat and power creep to a minimum, it's going to be an overall better experience for everyone from the community. One of the most frustrating things about Kill Team in the previous edition was everything was massively underproduced. So when you went to buy an expansion box set, it was basically luck of the draw if you were able to get a hold of one, as they were selling out in minutes. And the box sets were only available one time, after which you would have to wait sometimes 2 or 3 months before the individual teams were released. And even if you already had the models or had something that you could use for a stand-in, it would oftentimes take months before the books came out with the rules. So if Games Workshop sticks to what it says and releases the rules for free as soon as they come out, everyone has access to them all the time, even if you can't get a hold of the models or the card packs because they're sold out. As long as you have access to the actual rules and some models, you could easily use them as a stand-in, and this doesn't mess with the overall gameplay experience. So obviously, Kill Team is not going to be perfect, but we have seen Games Workshop address quite a few of these issues. It does seem like they're leaning in a little bit more on competitive play and have kind of lost the script on who's actually playing these games, because it is a relatively small amount of the community that's actually playing in competitive events. And most people are far less concerned with winning the games or it being perfectly balanced as they are with just having an overall good experience. So for me, the best way that Kill Team can be an absolute success and soar in popularity is if the games take roughly an hour to an hour and a half to play, the products are readily available, the rules are always available for free, and when they do the quarterly updates, they keep it to a minimum, keep them easy to understand, and that way it doesn't feel like a chore doing your homework just to make sure that you're playing the rules right. So let me know what you think so far of what we've seen on Kill Team, what you think some of the issues are that you've had in the past, whether it's availability, keeping up with the rules, or just how long the games play. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. And as always, special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the channel. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man. And if Games Workshop can get the time, availability, and bloat under control, I think Kill Team could be an absolute success. And I'm out of here.